This is a story called Shark Tooth. It's the thud 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 on the front door at 2 a.m. that makes you jump out of bed. The police barge in and drag your brother from his room. He's in his boxers, arms cuffed behind his back, and your heart feels like a grenade, and you're screaming, and so is your ma, and your da is comatose in the bedroom. Your ma grabs the arm of the police, but he swats her away and she stumbles. What's he done? She shrieks, and they say he was thieving, and his lip is burst, teeth the colour of ripe plums. You hear the smack of the baton as it whacks his jaw, and your ma swears he was here all night, and he was. This time he really was. But they're piled on top of him now. All you see are the dirty soles of his feet. His ribs sound like knuckles being cracked. And your ma keeps you off school the next day. You fill a basin with hot water and a squirt of fairy liquid, rip up old dusters and wash the blood off the walls. It doesn't really clean it, just streaks and smears it. Your ma chucks the duster, gets the Benson and Hedges from her overall pocket and sparks up. My boy, she moans, glaring at his blood on the wall. Look what they fucking pigs done to my boy. And you rinse the cloth in the basin, biting down hard on your bottom lip. The water has clots and pieces of skin floating in it. That's bits of my brother in there, you think, a cattle prod shock to your skull. His tooth is buried somewhere in the shag pile carpet. Each day is a plastic bag being pulled down further over your face. It's lying up on the couch watching Pebble Mill at 1, hot water bottle over your belly because you're on the blob and the cramps are killing you. And your ma smacks her slipper off the back of your head and says, "Oh, looks like I'll go and get mine fucking fags then." And you think, "Aye, you could do the exercise, you fat cow." But you don't say that. And she slams the door shut and you watch Neighbours and decide that, see, when you grow up, you're going to get a perm and live in Australia and definitely shag Jason Donovan. And later you hear the key in the lock and your ma shuffling and wheezing along the hall, and she forgot the milk, so it'll be water and the Weetabix again for breakfast. It's sitting up the back of the class with the dafties, ripping pages from textbooks to make paper aeroplanes, and your teacher looks at you the same way folk look when they see bird shit on the windscreen. And he clears his throat and says, "I'll try that again, shall I?" And he opens the book and reads a poem, and you pretend not to listen, but the words lick around your brain, and it sounds like you're dreaming, and it sounds like grace. And you feel like you've swallowed a stone, because it's hard to hear there's beautiful things in this world. And you stare at the leather patch on the elbow of his tweed jacket, glancing at his mouth, crooked front teeth and ginger stubble, the poem forming a shape in mid-air. And the Janny is mopping the corridor outside, and the stench, lemon vinegar, shoots up your nose just as the teacher says the word surfacing. You roll it silently around in your mind. Surfacing. And you walk home from school, bag slung low over your shoulder with your best mate Izzy, who smells like Vosine and Dewberry from the Body Shop. And she only managed to sneak one of her ma's cigs, so you go twosies on it. And she's talking about a lad in 5th year she gave a blowjob to, but you don't believe her. Because her ma belted her jaw and she saw her just talking to some Ned at the school gates. But you're not really listening anyway. That poem is lodged in your head like a razor stuck in a peach. And you walk through the forest beside the burn, and Izzy takes a last drag before flicking the butt into the water. The sky is bright blue, but the trees smell stale, like the inside of fusty cupboards, and you wish you brought gloves because the tips of your fingers are numb. And when you get home, you lie on top of your bed and with your tongue, trace words from the poem on the roof of your mouth. It's lugging the artificial Christmas tree from out of the airing cupboard, hanging plastic baubles on the branches, then propping it up on the sideboard, because if you placed it on the floor, it wouldn't come up to your knees. And your da, slumped low in his chair and still wearing his leather jacket because he forgot the bookies was shut the day, gets weepy for the Queen's speech. "What a woman," he says, chucking his empty can into the fireplace. "What a woman." And you wrote your brother a card, but you don't know the address of the jail, so you just put it under his pillow. And your ma wears sunglasses in winter, and it's not because she's going on a skiing trip, it's to hide the fuck off bruises underneath. "In a week," says your ma, "it's a new year, a brand new year," but she's saying it like the chemo isn't working, the cancer's spreading. The cancer is spreading. It's sitting up the park on grass that's damp from snow turned to slush, sharing a bottle of cider that you got from the Spar, and it's pitch black and you can only see fuzzy outlines of seesaws and swings and guys you don't know. You hear Izzy in the distance, but you're not sure if she screamed or just laughed. A jagged patch of inky sky above the trees, and the stars look like grey fillings in the air, his claws in it. You keep swigging from the bottle of Strongbow and everything loosens and it feels good to fall. And somebody is groping under your jumper and he smells like roll-ups and cheap aftershave and he's trying to yank your bra to one side. It's only a 32A, mate, you think, so why fucking bother? But then a hum of fear makes you shiver and bile starts to rise from your belly and you spew up on the grass. The place is spinning, hot steam rising from the puke, throat burning, and you remember a piece from the poem. Pale limbs slicing through a green lake, grey dress circling gaunt as a shark. Sinking, the water burns into her bones. Surfacing, a trout slides across the arch of her foot and you scrunch up your eyes and try to be there instead in a lake. Sinking. But one of them is unbuckling your jeans already and you throw up again. It smells like rotten apples and boiling the bag curry, and when you swallow it tastes like burnt plastic. So you slump further into the grass, bare thighs and ripped knicker elastic, and the vomit is stuck to the side of your face and knotted in your hair. It's sitting on your bed in the dark, thinking of the prayer your granny used to teach you. Pray like this, she'd say, putting your hands together, then squashing hers over them. You'd lie on her pull-down sofa, listening, and she'd say something about heaven and something about bread every day, but you don't really remember the rest of it. You cover your ears, but you still hear the plates getting smashed and your dad hollering, your ma wailing, but it's muffled like she's underwater. And you spring out of bed, pacing the floor, then grab a jotter from your school bag and you start to write, and it feels like you've severed an artery, it feels like you've unclogged a drain. You keep the lamp off, scared your dad will see the slit of light under your door and you get dragged by the hair again. And in the prayer, there was a bit about how God was going to deliver us from evil, and you think, well, could you hurry the fuck up then? And the next day, you take your ma's lighter and tear the pages of your jotter into strips and watch your words burn in an ashtray. It's bunking off school with Izzy, sitting on the sloped grass verge beside the canal, sharing a can of warm lager, watching bulldozers demolish your old tenements. Heat and dust, mounds of rubble and dirt, and you see ripped grey fragments of wallpaper as the buildings are sliced in two. Walls the colour of lard, dampness as black and greasy as the arse of a chip pan. Your ma actually started to cry when she read the letter, saying what was going to happen, and you don't know why. Because she used to say animals in a zoo lived fucking better. And bits of grit are under the lid of your eyes. The air smells like tyres are burning. You take a swig from the can and pass it to Izzy. You undo the buttons at the bottom of your shirt, tie a knot under your ribs, then wipe the sweat from your stomach with the flat of your hand. You'd be in biology class right now. Formaldehyde and frog's legs, fallopian tubes and fertilised eggs, and a large dog-eared diagram of a uterus that to you looks like a cow skull painted pink, tacked up on the wall. Your stomach is growling. Izzy has a stale cracker in her bag, snaps it in two and hands you half. You chew, but it's brittle, so you both sip some lager. She makes the sign of a cross and says, "In the name of the Father that's never around, forever and alki, amen." And you laugh, but she doesn't. And bricks the colour of dirty bathwater crumble and crash to the ground, and Izzy says, "It is a bit sad, isn't it?" And you nod. But you're remembering the mound of used Johnnies in the corner of your close every Sunday morning, dirty needles and broken necks of glass on the pavement from smashed bottles of Beck's, a tooth lodged in a shag pile carpet. And you think of your dad with a tiny roach, smoked to the nub, scraping muck from under his thumbnail before flicking it onto the floor, Your ma out scrubbing office blocks for pennies and shabby smiles. And you think of that day you got that feeling between your legs, like a deflated balloon smeared in oil was heavy inside your pants, and you hobbled home and wiped the lump away with tissues, then without looking, flushed it down the toilet. Yeah, it is a bit sad, you say, squashing the can before opening another from the 4-pack of Tennent's. Tear it down, you think, grind every brick to powder, but you know this is a stain you'll never erase. You think of something your ma said, if these walls could talk, they wouldn't, they'd scream. Izzy makes a daisy chain bracelet, puts it around her scarred wrist and lies on her back. I'm bored, she yawns, we should go soon. You lie beside her, the tip of your little finger touching hers. Her eyes are closed, lank hair fanned out on the grass, she's drowsy from the jellies. A digger pounds and grinds at the concrete blocks, causing a flurry of grime and soil to swirl around you, up your nostrils and down your throat, and you splutter and cough. A torn scrap of wallpaper, of yellowed ferns that once were green, catches under your shoe, and you strain to hear Izzy's raspy breathing. It's a thin rope that you cling to because you share the same air, you and her, you share the same stink, and you can't even remember that poem anymore. Yeah, you say, leaning over to wipe the yellow drool from her mouth. We really should go. Thank you.